You know what's one of the interesting things about I had a very, very full day, seeing lots of people and just on the street by coincidence. I saw Nikki, I saw Timo, I met the woman, Carmen from the organic shop here in Conil, Spain. And interesting is that although I had the spiritual awakening, although I did 1,000 tantra massages, although I'm a master at what I do, although I've become extremely good in healing energies, it's interesting that although I had all these things and experiences, that I tend to become nervous in social situations. And maybe it's because I'm a double Cancer, Cancer ascendant and Cancer sun sign. We tend to be very introverted. I have friends who are Cancer and they're very introverted. They're more like they rather are for themselves. And I try to push myself into social situations because I enjoy it. But I realize that every time I put myself in that situation, I'm strangely nervous. But when I do my Tantra sessions, or when I did my Tantra sessions, I was not nervous. So I would even, for example, have two women at the same time in the session, and I would not be nervous. Maybe in the first session or so, but in the second, third, fourth sessions, it would stop. But when it's in a real life situation, in terms of like on the street, in a shop, I tend to get unnaturally nervous, which I haven't really figured out yet why that is. And it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting observation, and that's all. Although I had the spiritual awakening. Channel 4 fan, hi. Hey, I'm Cancer and a bit of ambivert. Sometimes I like going out, sometimes I like to stay home and I get cozy and watch a movie. Yeah, I was just talking about this with Nikki, who is also a van lifer from Germany. I accidentally, by chance, met him at the beach today, and we talked a lot about various kinds of things. And one of those things where we were talked about when are you extrovert, when you're an introvert, and how do you feel it? And he felt the same as me, that he wanted to get away from negative energy, from city energy, from kind of like the matrix, you could say. And for me it was the same thing, but he feels like pushed away from this energy, whereas I felt more a heart based pull from nature. I wanted to see more nature. I wanted to see more, be more in the green. I had this vision of an open heart energy, a lot of green around me, and walking barefoot. And that kind of got me to buy the van and to do the van life. And now I'm doing 3 years van life, and that's one of the great things that you can choose whether you're in the city or whether you're outside the city. And right now I'm parked outside the city and I use the bicycle to drive into the city. And that is actually quite good because you can choose when you go into the city, when not. And I was thinking, should I park where Nikki is? Because Nikki is parked basically at the beach in front of Conil, right in front of the city. And there you can meet tons of people on the beach if you want to, or you just hide in the van basically. And while I was speaking to Nikki, I saw a woman which kind of was around 40 to 50 years old, and she was walking in a very kind of elegant fashion. And she caught my eye more than any other woman. And I felt I'm just gonna go over there and give her the compliment. So I went there and I gave her a Spanish compliment saying, I like how elegant you walk. And she, at first, she was like, what does this guy want? It was clear she didn't want to talk to anyone. Not at least not to me. And but I gave her the compliment. She kind of took the compliment and reacted very positively. And then I just went away because I realized she doesn't want any more contact. And that's the good thing about being a highly sensitive tantra masseur. It's good and bad. It's because you are so sensitive that you recognize when somebody's open or not. But sometimes people who do not see those signals are actually the ones who have more success with people, because maybe it's just a shell that needs to be break that you need to break through or something. Anyway, so it's easy for me to give a short compliment, to go over to someone and be like, "Hey, I like what you're doing here." Whether it's a guy or girl doesn't matter. Or just starting conversations with men for me is super easy. But I also do not want anything from men in that sense. Like, with women, there's always the option, is this someone maybe? And so it becomes much more difficult. Um, Interesting is Timo, the Belgian healer, energy healer. He's more like friends with everyone. I'm not that type of guy. I don't like to have an infinite, not infinite an amount of friends. I mean like this kind of like um I'm not good in strategic, you could call, let's call it strategically having friends. Means okay, I'm call someone up and be like, let's meet. For me, it's fine when I'm in the city and I meet someone on the street, and it's like, hey, what's up, like that, and then you talk for half an hour or an hour and you continue and do your thing again. But strategically, like meeting up and being like, or purposefully and be like, hey, let's meet, let's do that. That's not so much my style. um I like more the synchronicities of everything, like, and the spiritual awakening really did change my life a lot in that regard. Like, I just I don't want to do any projects anymore. I don't feel like achieving anything specifically. I don't have an idealism where I say I need to change the world, make the world better. I just let everything like kind of flow. And just today, by coincidence, I went by an Indian restaurant and I decided to eat in the Indian restaurant where normally I don't eat alone, but I love Indian food, and the review said it's one of the best Indian restaurants that people have been to ever. So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And so I did that, which was a little bit pushed out of the comfort zone, but I felt very comfortable. And then I went even further and I streamed while I was in the restaurant. So I streamed on my German channel. I did a stream while I was in the German in the restaurant, and that was kind of like a little bit pushing myself out of the comfort zone, because it's unusual to stream while while you're alone in a restaurant. And but I did that, and the food was amazing. It was awesome. So and I pushed myself speaking to some random woman on the beach. A huge thing actually for me. It's I've never done anything similar for the last 15 years, maybe. Literally for the last 15 years. Like, I do speak to people, but not like with the intent of, I don't know this person at all. I have no connection with that person at all, and I just go over there and give them a compliment. I can say hola or something to someone, but literally like a few sentences is for me is unusual. But because of being an HSP, highly sensitive person, I do have the thing where I then have to pull back a lot, just like you said, where then I feel like I need space on my own. I need quietness, and yeah. And interesting is that by abiding in the self means going into silence and just being aware of the self, kind of opens up my energy towards these things much easier. I went to this five-star restaurant at the top of the Shard in London, which is this huge tower. We can see all the views of the Thames, and the food there was top class. And you did that on your own or with someone? Because I feel like eating, going out and eating on your own is a much harder thing to do for someone who's cancer and introvert. I'm 100% introvert, by the way. I can act very extrovert, but I don't I take my energy from being introvert. Um and it's quite harsh to be an introvert in this modern world. And by the way, in terms of like dating apps, also I deleted all my dating apps because I love the dynamic of overcoming your inner fear and talking to a stranger, not knowing how they will react. Sometimes they react very pissy, and but I love the adrenaline and the experience and the edginess of that experience. Let's call it the game, if you want to call it like that, because it is in some form or fashion it's a game. I do like that energy field, and on dating apps you just don't get that. That with my family. Ah, okay. So I really enjoy this, but it's really a huge challenge. Like, there was one woman I said hola from my bike while I was biking, and she was I didn't expect her. She was kind of like surprised, and then half a second later she was super happy, and I should have opened a conversation with her. And this is something I need to learn, that as soon as I see a positive feedback, a smile, whatever, stop and start a conversation about nothing. Start a conversation about nothing, just like Seinfeld, like a show about nothing. Start a conversation about nothing, and then see what happens. And this is something I need to learn, and it's tough to learn it with 46. Oh my god, it's so tough. And so I was in this shop today, in organic shop, where Carmen is the owner, and we talked a little bit about energy healing. And there was this other woman, they're both mothers, and they were talking about, some spiritual energy stuff. And I said I'm an energy healer, and they were like, "Oh, this is really, like, this is what we were looking for." And I completely fucked it up. Like, literally, I could have made it so interesting, and I completely fucked it up. Like, literally. It's like I'm a master energy healer, and I completely fucked it up. And it's horrible. It's like, you know why it's horrible? Because it's not like you have every day these opportunities of meeting people that maybe vibrate on your same vibration, but the way you communicate, if you don't do it well, you cannot sell anything. It's like, I should have learned that with 2025. It's um but I'm happy in a way that I'm pushing myself to these experiences. It makes my day much more interesting. It makes it really interesting to push myself into experiences, and just hook yourself into conversations. Because I was like, "Hey, you guys, you speaking about meditation? Oh, okay. So what's it about?" and stuff like that. And then you just hook yourself into the conversation. And be kind of like, I noticed that you have to have a belief system. This is super interesting. Like, in a social situation, you have to have a belief system that you're an interesting person, and that people want to talk to you. It's very interesting. And if you don't have that, if you assume people don't want to talk to you, that you're uninteresting or whatever, then you'll end up a very lonely person. You never connect with people. The good thing in Spain, it's lot easier than in most other countries. Imagine how it's in Germany. Oh my god, it's like, ooh. Um, in Czech Republic, you have to speak Czech. In France, you have to speak French. In Germany, it doesn't matter what language you speak. Spain is literally is if you speak Spanish, it's really good for that. Especially in an Andalusia, it's much simpler. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit. Maybe some people relate to that, because it's literally, I'm like, my channel is always about red pill, and I should do much more English videos, because I've done tons of German videos, and my channel keeps on growing in Germany. But I should have an international channel, where I talk about a lot of things, even toxic metaframing, libido empowerment, all of these kind of like, understanding narcissism, spiritual awakening, tons of other topics that I should be talking a lot more about. But interestingly enough, when I do a live stream here, It doesn't get pushed as much as when I do a live stream in other channels. Like for example, sometimes I do a live stream in German and it gets like 100 viewers. In Spanish, it gets sometimes like 20, 30 viewers. Here, it never gets pushed for some reason. Um, but yeah, I feel like resting and abiding as awareness is essential for any kind of growth, and then you see where it goes from there. I'm starting to get really tired. It was a long day. And it's interesting because I don't even work. And still it was a long day with a lot of experiences. And there were lots of tiny bits during the day that were all very interesting. Um yeah, I will think about more English videos and start posting more English stuff and see where this goes. Maybe we can make this grow a little bit. I'll figure something out.